Welcome to the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts. In this two-part series, hosts Jack Schonely and John Gray sit down with the 2024 Airborne Public Safety Association's Tactical Flight Officer of the Year award recipient, Senior Deputy Eric Johnson, and Sergeant Jerry Hunter from the Kings County, California Sheriff's Office. Johnson and Hunter discussed the award and their backgrounds in law enforcement, the establishment of their air support unit, and the critical role of aviation in enhancing canine operations and overall public safety within Kings County, California. The conversation highlights the importance of the ongoing development of operational strategies for effective air support. Eric and Jerry emphasize the significance of transparency, the commitment to excellence and hard work, and the impact of their operations on public safety. They also discuss the pride taken in maintaining aircraft and facilities and the role of leadership in fostering a positive culture within their program. The Hangar Z would like to congratulate Senior Deputy Eric Johnson for earning the APSA TFO of the Year award and acknowledge him for his dedication to public safety aviation and the example he sets as a tactical flight officer. Thank you to our sponsors, Airbus, Precision Aviation Group, and Spectralab.
Welcome to the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts. The Hangar Z podcast is the first and only podcast dedicated to promoting and exploring the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Join your host, John Gray, Jeff Ratkovich, and Jack Schonely.
Still southbound, skidding to a stop. Stand by here. Looks like you're getting ready to bail. Heads up, guys, bailing. Okay, the guy, he's running through the house, jumping the fence, threw the shotgun, threw something out. Grabbing the shotgun. Don't go over that fence. Don't go over that fence. Grab the shotgun again. He is armed. Stay there. Hold your position.
4 on the stop. You're in custody.
They're advising code 4 on the stop.
Welcome to the Hangar Z podcast. I'm your host, Jack Schonely, and we are at ABSCON 2024, Houston, Texas, at the Vertical Valor booth with a great backdrop, a couple special guests, and John Gray, the creator of the Hangar Z podcast. We're going to have a conversation with the Tactical Flight Officer Award recipient, Eric Johnson from Kings County Sheriff's Office, Kings County, California Sheriff's Office. Welcome.
Thank you guys for having us.
Eric, welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
On
Appreciate
your
it.
award. This is a big deal. There's a lot of TFOing going on out there. Look at that. Look at that award winner VIP.
Fancy.
I knew I was sitting by someone special.
Appropriate. There's a lot of great work. We would all agree there is a lot of incredible work by TFOs every year across the country, around the world, and you, my friend, are being recognized for that. That's a big deal. So congratulations. We're going to get into the event here shortly, but in the meantime, let's get to know a little bit about you before we get to what happened and how what incident this happened with. Tell us about yourself, Eric.
My name's Eric Johnson, Senior Deputy with the Sheriff's Office. Worked for the Sheriff's Office since 2005, so going on 19 years now. Done a little bit of everything in my career. Everything from, I was on the sniper team for 12 years, SWAT team. I did sniper team leader for a very short time, ran a canine for 9 years, and then Sergeant Hunter gave me a call 2.5 years ago and asked if I wanted to jump on the air support unit, and I had already been as a collateral duty part of our air support unit, but 2.5 years ago we started it full time, and we've been going strong since then.
Outstanding.
So they were both previous on the podcast, and I think you had been on for about a year as a TFO when you came on the first time?
Done a couple stints. When we very first started the air unit, 2014-ish? 2014. We had a little CTLE light sport, and I was a tactical flight officer for that for a few years, and my life got super busy with my kids. I just couldn't commit the time I wanted to, so I resigned for a few years, and then about a year before we went full-time, I jumped back on the team.
Okay.
Had some time open up in my personal life, decided I wanted to get back into it, and a good idea.
It was pretty cool when I saw the award recipient was you. Honestly, we're kind of making light of it, but it's a big deal, and it's not an award that's given away to anybody. You guys earned that. So it's cool. We got to profile your whole agency and the work you guys were doing a while back, and to be sitting here with you guys right now as the award recipients for that, it's pretty cool, So sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to say I'm really proud of you guys and what you guys have done with the unit. So
cool. Thank you.
I thought, since I interviewed you before, I thought it'd be a good opportunity for someone to hear a professional do the work of the host. So
Stop it.
so Jack's running it today.
Stop it. Wow. Well, I can't live up to that. So we're done. Let's wrap it up. No, I agree with John, and it's cool that you were on, and now you're back on for something. I like that too. That's really special. Jerry Hunter.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about yourself.
Sergeant Jerry Hunter, Kings County Sheriff's Office, Chief Pilot of our Aviation unit. Been in the program since it started in 2014. I helped create the program. Prior to going into the Aviation unit, just like Eric, we all started out as patrol deputies, FTOs. Eric and I both ran, we're on the canine team together for years and years and years. And that's kind of what got me introduced into airborne law enforcement as being a dog handler. Prior to us having a unit, we'd always have to ask for another agency to come assist us. And our county is fairly rural. So some of our canine searches, are in cornfields, cotton fields, orchards that go for miles and miles.
Yeah.
And we'd always beg, borrow, and plead for an agency to come help us. Hey, let's try to narrow this search down so we could just do our job better as canine handlers. And then I got introduced into airborne law enforcement. I was always an aviation enthusiast, I guess you would say, then got introduced to airborne law enforcement and said, hey, this can really work for our county, and put pen to paper and did a whole bunch of research and presented it to our command staff, and they said, go get it.
Wow.
So
that's really cool.
That's how the unit started.
Yeah. Who tended to help you? Was it CHP, Fresno, Kern, all of the above?
All the above. We'd asked for CHP. We'd asked for Fresno County Sheriff's Office. They're our sister agency right across. We share a county line together. They've been tremendous for the entire inception of our program. We rely on them all the time. They would help us. We'd ask for Kern County to help us. Anybody that we can get our hands on. But what we found is those requests were starting to become more and more frequent. Yeah. And that's what, made me realize that, hey, man, how can we get into this and be fiscally responsible about it? And that's how our program got started.
Wow. Everybody starts somewhere, and it takes...
Absolutely.
Sometimes it starts with one person or a couple of canine handlers. In this case, going, boy, that would really be cool.
Yes.
If we could have this without having to wait for, our brothers and sisters in their surrounding counties. And that's what got it going.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the canine searches, with an air asset overhead are completely different.
It's amazing.
Agreed?
Oh, yeah. It can cut down your search time in half or 25%. It's a huge asset.
Especially in Central California, in the ag areas. I mean, that flare or your eyeballs can see so far out ahead, and there's not a lot of places, like in an urban area where there's a ton of places to hide. There's a lot of places to hide in a field too, but would you agree that
100%.
having that, it's gonna cut down the majority of your searches?
There's a lot of fields that we can just, with the airplane or helicopter, clear in seconds. And tell them, hey, don't waste your time going that way. We're 100% sure they're not in that field.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, we'll start working to the west or east, and so it helps out.
I remember being on searches as a canine handler and working my dog for 30 or 40 minutes. Dog starting to get exhausted. Eric has done this 100 million times as well. Then have an air asset come over and say, hey, your suspect is hiding in a canal, a quarter mile west of you guys. And it's like, oh, okay, let's go. It just makes everybody's job so much easier, and it's so much safer as well.
Yeah.
We can surround and call out at that point and bring the suspect to where we maintain the tactical advantage rather than following a dog's nose, ending right up on top of the suspect.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's interesting that you both were canine handlers and now you're in aviation. Yesterday we were in Clay Lacey's TFO class, and it was the canine air sport operations portion of his class. And a lot of what you're talking about is come up already, you know. But it based on the people I've talked to, I feel like folks that have been in canine tend to make really good TFOs, and
I agree.
I think it's pretty cool to see these units working together, really effective units, Can you talk about your experience and how that's lent into your guys' success?
Being a canine handler makes just gives me a good mindset when we're doing a search. I know as a canine handler, when I ran a dog, what I wanted from the airplane. So I just sort of think of the same thing when I'm running the camera of what information do they want. I can help set up perimeters and sort of just take their workload off, because prior to having the aircraft, the canine handler basically ran the entire scene. As soon as the canine handler got on scene, They're setting perimeters. They're telling people where to go, and it's a huge workload. So we can sort of, being a previous canine handler, I can take some of that workload off of them, and they can focus more on their dog and more on the search.
That's great. It's a great way, a simple way to explain it. It ain't rocket science, is it? I mean, but workload, being able to shed even little things makes the canine handler's job easier, makes your job easier now in aviation too, because you can split that. Really valuable, really valuable.
We've had some interesting cases as well with Eric working the camera. You know, we help our canine guys out probably every single day on searches, but they'll deploy the dog. We'll watch the dog start working in the backyard. Canine handler and his contact team are in behind a position of cover where they can't see the dog necessarily, but Eric will start watching the dog, and as a former canine handler, Eric can start reading the dog. Okay, hey, the dog's getting an odor. I see the body change of the dog. You know, I'm going to start narrowing my search in this particular area where the dog is, and lo and behold, oh, look, there's a suspect hiding under a tarp. I can see his foot sticking out. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because that's what Clay was talking about yesterday. He was recognizing the behavior of the dog. Yeah. And if I wasn't on a canine handler, as much as I would have loved to have done that, I was not. And if I were to go back and do my TFO time again, I would have spent more time with the canine operations, getting to understand what you just described, seeing what happens when a dog gets that scent cone and doing what you're doing. I think that's genius. So love that.
It really helps. I can't tell you how many times as a pilot training a new TFO, I watch the dog teams and go, hey, stand by. This guy's going to be in this yard.
Yep.
And they go,
oh, yeah.
How the heck do you know that? I said, because the dog is in full-blown alert. I mean, what does that mean? And, educate them. They didn't know.
Absolutely.
But you could go out with your canine teams and in a very short period of time go into practice searches and go, oh, that's what an alert looks like. Because every dog's different. Some are more subtle than others, but some are, it's unbelievable how obvious it is. And you know immediately. So I've always said too that I think the canine to air support thing is a really good thing. You know things that the average patrol officer doesn't know, and this is one of them. The scent cone and understanding scent and seeing the alert. Man, it's just such a good thing. How did you get into the aviation part of things?
Thank you to our sponsor, SpectroLab. SpectroLab, a pioneer and world-leading supplier of high-intensity searchlights for all para-public operations. Visit www.spectrolab.com to learn more about our third-generation Night Sun series high-intensity searchlight. When reliability and performance is critical to your mission, count on SpectroLab Night Sun searchlights.
As a canine handler, doing multiple searches, needing air support, not having it, I figured there's got to be a way. I don't know what you'd call it, eccentric, or I don't take no for an answer very well.
So we heard that before. Yeah.
I just did a whole bunch of research on my own. In the very beginning, like we spoke about in the last podcast, there's some people that supported it. Some people told me, you're wishing for something that we're never, ever going to be able to afford. I was like, let me prove it. Let me figure it out myself. So I did about 2 years of research.
Wow.
And gathering stats and talking to agencies and figuring out operational costs, talking to our fiscal analysts. How much money do we have available? How much money could we budget for? Is it even possible? I think a lot of people, when they start trying to think of creating an air support unit, they're just throwing a rock in a pond and wanting the world and realizing that, hey, your agency can't buy something and operate something that's going to take 3/4 of the operating budget. So you got to figure a way around that. Yeah. Tulare County had a light sport. That's we ended up purchasing our first aircraft was the same exact airplane, had a small camera system on it. Did all the research, presented it to my command staff, our sheriff, Dave Robinson, who's a huge proponent of airborne law enforcement. I got about 3/4 of the way through my proposal, my PowerPoint, and he stopped me and he's like, go buy it. Why don't we have this already?
Yeah.
But I was able to back everything up financially because it's the public's money.
That's right.
We're spending the public's money, and we got to be servants of the public's money. We can't spend reckless. So our idea was, let's buy this light sport aircraft. I think turnkey, mission ready. We spent $550,000. It was a brand new aircraft, brand new camera, mapping system, the whole works. Just to see, 1, if we can afford it, 2, if it's going to be effective, and 3, if we grow, what do we need? And we had that airplane for 5 years, 6 years, and we simply outgrew its mission capabilities. Presented the idea again to the sheriff of, hey, we've outgrown it. This is what we could do with a much larger aircraft, larger camera system. And again, he was all for it. He said, yep, you guys have been proven successful. Let's move up. So that's how we ended up buying a Cessna 206 with an MX-10, a bigger camera, bigger, a lot more capabilities. And we've just continued to expand from there.
So keep us rolling here. What kind of expansion are we talking about?
As far as the expansion, so when we first created our unit, again, I had to be fiscally responsible. So we have the luxury of having the biggest naval air station west of the Mississippi in our county. I knew some Navy pilots. I presented the idea to them of, hey, would any of the pilots be interested in volunteering for our agency to fly our aircraft? I didn't have a pilot's license at the time.
Okay.
And he said, absolutely. These guys love to fly.
Oh, yeah,
and if they're not paying for gas, they're getting to fly somebody else's aircraft.
Who doesn't like that?
Yeah. And they're helping the cause.
Yeah.
They're helping put bad guys in jail. I think I had 20 to start with, 20 volunteer pilots. So our aircraft, again, it was a collateral assignment for TFOs, for myself, the other TFOs that we had, all self-trained. We didn't go through any TFO. We didn't know about TFO courses, but we would call everybody. Hey, how do we do this? How do we, we self-trained essentially. Had our volunteer pilots. Airplane was up 5 or 6 days a week, 4 or 5 hours a time. But without fail, whenever it was needed the most, it wasn't available. But we continued to operate that way. And it was very successful, very, very successful. When we started really honing in on the skill set of being able to find people, and as our experience grew, we started getting more and more support from the ground guys, the guys internally with the agency. It wasn't, hey, this is just a toy anymore. It's holy crap. These guys can find bad guys for us and we take people to jail. Yeah. We need them. Moving forward, we did that again for 5 or 6 years. As a joke with my old commander, I supervised a major crimes task force. That was my job. But I was still flying. At that point, I had already got my license, so I started flying for the sheriff's office, again, as a collateral assignment with the TFO. And as a joke, we needed the aircraft for something. Nobody was available. I was out with my team on a surveillance mission, so I wasn't available. And my commander said something to the effect of, I wish the aircraft was more available. I said, well, it would be if it was full time. Hung up the phone, didn't think anything about it. No kidding. God is my witness. An hour later, my sheriff called me.
Wow.
When you see the sheriff's name on your caller ID, you immediately think, do I need an attorney?
Or this could be really good.
That's just what he thinks. I'm never worried about that.
Right. Babe, start packing up all that gear. The sheriff called me. He said, hey, I need to see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. in my office. And no kidding. I said, sir, do I need legal representation or? And he started laughing. Our sheriff's an amazing guy. He started laughing. He goes, no, I want to talk to you about air support. I said, cool. Went and met with him the following morning with my commander. And he said, I want to go full time. How do we do it? And I said, you tell me when. He said, 30 days.
Wow.
And I said, we could do it in 30 days. And it was only 30 days because he needed me to train the next supervisor that came to take over our task force. Right. So that guy had to mirror me for 30 days to learn the workings of that task force. And I told our sheriff, though, no, and this is no, I'm not trying to pat Eric on the back. His head's big enough as it is. But I told our sheriff, I said, I'll only do it if I get to pick my own TFO full
that's
time.
A good move.
And he said, who do you want? And I said, Eric. And he said, make it happen. So I called Eric and I said, hey, let's go full time. Do you want to do it? Eric was in detectives. He made some phone calls to his family because it's a family obligation, right?
Oh, it is.
A lot of time. Made some phone calls to his family, called me an hour later and said, let's go. So almost 30 years to the date, we went full time. Or
30 days.
30 days to the date, we went full time.
Wow. That's amazing. That is really cool. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
One of the things that you said in there that for our listeners that don't know, it's Lemoore, right? The Naval Air Station?
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of people that have no idea there's a Naval Air Station in the middle of Central California. because it's kind of between, the 99 and the 5. You don't really see it, right?
Correct.
You don't go
and
by it.
it's huge.
It's huge.
It's huge. And then the F-18s primarily?
F-35s.
F-35s? Both. So there's a lot of pilots.
Yes,
a
there
lot
is.
of pilots. Did that work for you for a while there?
It's
Tremendously.
still working for us.
Oh,
And
so they're still involved in supplementing you?
We still have 5. Yep,
5?
we've dwindled it down to 5 that volunteer for us, and they're amazing. Those guys are amazing. A lot of our military aviators are single-seat jet pilots.
Yeah.
So they're used to working a FLIR. They know what a heat signature is.
Yeah, they do.
And they're just tremendous. When we're orbiting over a call for service, they're used to doing that in wartime.
Yeah.
Providing air support.
Yeah,
just
overwatch
orbiting.
what's going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
So those guys are amazing, absolutely amazing. And it's a tremendous benefit as well when we have a new TFO, because Eric will do all the training with a new TFO, but it's great to pair those guys with somebody that knows what they're looking at on a FLIR image if they're not flying with me, and being able to walk them on targets and assist with the workload. So
Wow.
they've worked out fantastic.
So personnel-wise now, it isn't just the 5 Navy pilots aside. How many TFOs and pilots? What are we talking from the sheriff's department? It's more than the 2 of you now, right?
Well, Eric and I are the only full-time crew. So we
Then you
work
have-
4 days.
Okay.
4 days a week, 10-hour shifts, but we manipulate our schedule. The only thing the sheriff asked when we went full-time is give every shift some love. He didn't want to hear any complaints of, we never get access to air support. So Eric and I work weekend days, for a couple weeks, weekend nights, weekday days, weekday nights. Our schedule kind of changes monthly, I guess you would say, but it's to provide the absolute most coverage for our county. And Eric's really good about paying attention to stats for all the agencies with our county. And hey, Wednesday nights are starting to, be extremely busy. Okay, we're going to start working, we'll work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah. Is that the detective side of you coming out, Eric?
Yeah, I did a very short stint in detectives.
Yeah.
But a little bit of that.
Just the
coming
cop
out.
stat. I mean,
Yeah.
or the cop part of you where you just go, hey, let's see what the action is.
Well,
Keeping a pulse on the pulse of that.
when I retired my dog, to be honest with you, I was depressed.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
like,
I know.
he missed maybe 3 or 4 days of work with me in 9 years. And so I'm driving around talking to him, and he's not in my car anymore. I'm like, this sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he was my best partner, best buddy. So I told my wife, I'm like, I can't just drive around pushing a car anymore. And she's like, okay. She goes, do something else. So I'm like, I'll try detectives.
Okay.
Went detectives, liked it, didn't love it. And so I did it for 7 or 8 months, and that's when he called me, and I was
Okay.
like, "Oh yeah, I'll bail.
Yeah.
I'll bail from this. Let's go chase some bad guys again." I
Yeah.
just missed chasing bad guys.
Yeah.
So how many part-time TFOs?
What we ended up doing with our part-time TFOs is we don't charge a service for any other agencies in the county.
Okay.
We help any agency that asks for our help. But what some of them do is they supply us with collateral duty TFOs. So Lemoore PD has 2. Hanford PD has 1, actually 2. And then we also have 2 from the sheriff's office that are collateral.
Okay.
So there's 7 or 8 of us total. And the way we have it set up is we use like an online calendar. And any time that Sergeant Hunter and I are not flying, the volunteer pilots can sign up for a flight. And they'll get online, be like, I want to fly Friday night from whatever, 5-6 hours. And they'll put it on there, and it sends a message out to all the other TFOs, and then one of them go, I'm available, and they can sign up and sign up for it.
That's
So
pretty
the
cool.
airplanes, even though he and I fly, we get called in quite a bit. He and I fly 4 to 6 days a week. It's up generally 6-7 days a week. So with all the volunteer pilots.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
And you were mentioning that you wanted to mix up the hours so you give love all to your folks, to your customers. That also keeps the bad guys guessing, doesn't it?
100%. Yeah, you never know when we're going to be.
Yeah,
up.
that's
So-
great because let's face it, they're not geniuses, but they're smart enough to figure stuff out like that.
Yeah.
Well, I see that airplane. I know they have an airplane. There it is, and it's always up at 1,800 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, they ain't going to be up at 04. Well, maybe they are.
Right.
And that's really good. That's very smart.
And
I
we
mean-
do swing shifts.
Yeah.
It just depends. Every
Yeah.
week's different.
Wow, that's really cool. How much surveillance? Oh boy, did I touch on something there?
We do
Eric's
a lot
laughing.
of surveillance. He
Okay.
hates surveillance.
I hate
Really?
surveillance.
You're kidding.
I hate surveillance. I don't. Again, like Eric was saying, You know, as a dog handler, you're always in the mix of things.
Yes.
So that's the adrenaline side.
Yeah. The
I
action mix.
love putting bad guys in jail.
Yes.
I love it. I love finding bad guys. I love putting bad guys in jail. I love making our community safe. I'm not saying surveillance doesn't do that.
Yeah. Because slowly.
But the slow process.
Yeah.
I love the end goal, and I love the success of surveillance, but I go stir crazy sometimes, flying 6 or 7 hours in a circle over the same target.
Yeah.
When it's 105 degrees.
I'm laughing because I can vividly remember following somebody to the grocery store and then to the drugstore and then home, then to the school, and you're like, can you just stop driving around?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just stay inside.
Do something.
Yeah.
Going 30 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
Yes. But we've done a good job too of educating, the various narcotics teams and the surveillance teams of, hey, this is what our capabilities are. And if it doesn't meet our capability, it's kind of pointless. We're wasting money of having this overhead.
Yeah.
We're a lot of guys on the ground, and I can speak for it myself of being in narcotics before. I didn't know the capabilities of the aircraft.
No.
But it was cool. It was always cool to have. Hey, we don't have to follow this guy so closely.
Yeah.
The aircraft's overhead, they can follow him. But at the same time, us circling a house for 7 hours when you can get a surveillance team in close, they have a better vantage point than we do.
That's right.
So we try not to waste taxpayer money, essentially, if we're not beneficial. So we've done a good job, and the teams that we do surveillance for, they know our capabilities now, and they use us wisely.
So they know because they know your limitations, they can say, hey, you know what, we got this.
Yes.
Yep.
Or, oh no, because of where it is or what they're doing,
Correct.
we need you. And they've been, because they're educated and you took the initiative there, you're benefiting. You're not doing those long, boring ones as often, probably, right?
Thank you to our sponsor, Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory globally, 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
And now a lot of times what they're doing is they'll call us, go, hey, this is what we're doing. We don't need you, but if they go mobile, we might need you.
Right.
So are you guys going to be available, or can you guys just sit on the ground? And yeah, not a problem. Because a lot of these bad guys, they're doing a lot of counter surveillance. We've noticed a lot of counter surveillance. So we like to help when we can.
For those people that are out there that aren't familiar with Central California and the agricultural areas that you work in, there's a lot of straight roads, aren't there?
Yes, there are.
And I would imagine on the ground, you just go, thank goodness that helicopter or that fixed wing is up there, because they're going to see you.
Yeah.
They're going to see you looking in that rearview mirror in these long ones. So that's so beneficial.
Yeah, you can go 10 miles on a straight road.
Absolutely.
So they'll see the one car that's been following them for 10 miles, and these guys will pull over on the shoulder, make a U-turn, go a block, make a right turn, make another U-turn. It's just impossible to follow.
So let me ask you this. Have you caught them looking up?
I don't. On vehicles, no.
Okay.
Nope.
And I can't think of a time ever that we've been burned on a wire.
There was one on a wire where a house we weren't watching called somebody else on the wire. It's like, hey, the airplane, and thought they were being watched by us, but it wasn't us.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it was we were going right over their house, and what we were watching was 3 or 4 miles to the east, and
that's really cool. That you know that, and it's just so beneficial having air assets on surveillance. I mean, it's almost impossible. The best surveillance teams in the world can get burned. It's so easy. And depending on where you're at, it's even easier. I mean, I just think of all the times I've been through Central California, and I was thinking about that straight road going, oh my gosh, they're going to be able to see a long way, but that your value increases dramatically.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times Eric has told a surveillance unit, hey, we got the car. You guys don't even need to follow it anymore. We'll tell you where it lands, and then you can set up again.
Good. That's good.
And they could just try to stay in front of it and just not follow it. So it helps out quite a bit.
Yeah. Cool. So tell us, Either or both of you, can you talk about just a thumbnail of Kings County Sheriff's Office? You know, how many personnel, how much, what area do you cover, that sort of thing?
So Kings County is about 1,400 square miles. It's not a huge county, but it's not super small either. About 175,000 residents in the county. So not, like you said, it's a rural area. We have a lot of orchards, a lot of great vineyards, everything. Our agency itself is right around, for patrol-wise, right around 100 sworn. And then we also have the Kings County Jail. I think overall sworn is right around 250 employees. Is that about right?
Yeah.
And you fly out of what airport?
We fly out of Hanford.
Hanford.
Yep.
And Hanford is the home of?
Journey. Steve Perry.
Steve Perry. Tony Weber, I know you know that. Tony Weber's drooling, going, man, I wanted to talk to guys that fly out of Hanford. Tony Weber is a huge Journey fan. Oh, my gosh. He'll be jealous that we're talking to people that fly out of Hanford.
Yep.
Yeah, Steve Perry connection. Do you go other places? Do you do what other folks used to do for you?
100%. We help just about anybody and everybody that asks for us, and our sheriff's completely on board with it. Fresno County, Tulare County have helped us out so much. It's gotten to the point where when their aircraft's down for the night, their sergeants will call us and go, hey, they'll call our dispatch. Hey, how long is your airplane up tonight? Oh, we're up until 2 or 3 in the morning. Okay, cool. And they'll start calling us. So we help Fresno County, Tulare County, anybody we can help. We don't mind it.
Yeah. Well, all those years you were depending on them. Now you can reciprocate, right? And pay them back, because it doesn't matter how many aircraft you have, how many personnel, you're always going to call on somebody else at some point. You know, it doesn't matter who you are. And having that relationship is really valuable, because all of a sudden you find yourself where your aircraft's down and you're going to be asking for help again, right? I mean, and that happens. I'm sure that happens.
Oh, it does. Yep.
Yeah. We talked about it, your aviation unit. Any other changes since you talked to John last?
Yes. Since we were last on the podcast, we've now purchased a helicopter as well. So we have a fixed wing and we have a helicopter platform. There were certain needs that our fixed wing couldn't do that, we said, hey, a helicopter would do a great job at this. And again, I went back to pen and paper, doing a whole bunch of research. Huge shout out to Fresno County. Those guys have helped us tremendously. Honestly, without the guidance and the support from Fresno County, we wouldn't have a helicopter now. They fly the same aircraft, an MD-500. Sat down with them and just picked their brains nonstop. Yeah. Operating costs, maintenance, everything. I know nothing about helicopters. I'm learning a little bit now, but at the time I knew nothing about helicopters. But we saw a tremendous benefit on how a helicopter could increase our safety of the public and the different capabilities it has to do that, where the fixed wing didn't have. So put pen and paper together, again, went to our command staff, went to our fiscal analyst, saw that it was possible. Kern County happened to be selling a helicopter while I was doing this, an MD-500.
Yep.
Proposed it to our sheriff. He presented it to the board with all the other, Eric helped me tremendously with our statistics, presented all the information to the board, got approval, and we purchased Kern County's helicopter.
How long ago did that happen?
April.
In April. Wow.
April of this year.
Wow. Brand new. So where are you at with flying it? Who's flying it? That sort of thing. Where are you at?
So again, I'm not a helicopter rated pilot. I have my check ride on August 13th.
Ooh. Wow.
Down at Hellestream. So I needed people to fly it. We have a base that has a search and rescue squadron that flies helicopters. Reached out to them. Got one pilot from Lemoore Naval Air Station, got a helicopter pilot from them through some other contacts, found another helicopter pilot that has a bunch of time in MD, contacted him. He happened to be retired and was looking for something to do. And he said, I'm all in.
Wow. Both are CFIIs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
So with Jake, the second pilot that I was mentioning that was retired, said, hey, man, all we ask is 4 hours a month from both of you. And he said, can I work 40? And I said,
well, okay.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
And so it's been super fortunate. So both of them, have some MD time. They're both CFIIs. So we did all of my training in-house in our own aircraft. We didn't have to outsource anything, which saved our county money, with hotel costs and flying a helicopter, a Robinson at a flight school that I'll never fly again. So we did everything in-house, 100% in-house, and August 13th, everything goes right. Fingers crossed.
Oh, it'll be fine.
We'll be 100% operational with both aircraft. We already are with the 2 pilots, or 2 volunteer pilots, but hopefully we'll be 100% operational with me on board as well.
What's their back? Was one is military and one is not, or was he former military too?
He's former military.
Okay.
And then when he got out of the military, he started doing a lot of contract work. So fire, a lot of stuff for DOD over in Afghanistan, overseas. And he also started several flight companies with lessons, and he would just get the business going. And then once that was done, he would turn it over to somebody and then go to the next venture.
Is the other military from Lemoore, is he still in full-time military? Is he still active, or is he out there?
He has since retired, and now he is an airline pilot.
Oh, geez. So you have a guy that's an airline pilot schedule where he has some gaps where he can come help you. That's perfect.
They both live locally, so it's worked out fantastic.
Sounds like Drew in Oxford. He works for NetJets, and he's their chief pilot in Oxford, Alabama, in a 530F.
Nice.
And he's got a great background for that sort of thing. So sounds like you won the lottery here.
Yeah, and I can't take credit for anything. We have a very supportive command staff, from our sheriff, our undersheriff, our assistant sheriff, our commanders, our fiscal analysts. They've all been extremely supportive, but
They get tired of seeing your name on paper, but
I can't walk into our headquarters anymore.
Yeah.
If I walk into our headquarters, very first question is, how much money is it going to cost us? But going back to having to find the necessity of things, it's super important that you keep documentations and statistics. Eric documents every single call that we go to, whether we're first on scene, what type of call it was, what was our response time. And that's a lot of things that community, I don't think, understands. We just did an open house for our community with our aircraft and just explained the importance of aviation. Again, they're the taxpayers. We fly their equipment. They paid for it. So they need to be educated on, making sure that we're spending money responsibly and we're not just buying toys. So when we're able to explain that, hey, our average response time is 30 seconds, over the populated areas, and explain to the citizen, when you call 911, you may not have an officer physically at your house, but we're watching it and we're giving them within 30 seconds and we're giving them live updates as to whatever is going on in your house. And as a taxpayer, including myself, that, that's important to me, that my response time went from an officer, not having an officer at my house in 5 minutes to now it's 30 seconds if we're up. And Eric's watching it live. He can live stream it to the responding officers so they can see everything that he's seeing.
That's great.
It's super important.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to go back to the aircraft you got real quick because we just had a chance to visit Kern County.
Yep.
Those guys are awesome. They're doing a great job.
They are.
And I was really impressed with their mechanics. The shop they have there, the care they take of their aircraft and their equipment. So I know what you guys got based on what I saw is absolutely pristine. So awesome that you guys got that. I love that.
Thanks to our sponsor, Airbus. Airbus provides the most efficient helicopter solutions to its customers who serve, protect, and save lives and safely carry passengers in demanding environments. Its civil and military helicopters are flying all over the world, making missions possible. Visit airbus.com for more information.
Their mechanic, Adam, has worked on our helicopter since the day it was delivered from the factory in 1986.
Wow.
He is every logbook
meticulous
entry
records.
has his name on it.
That's pretty cool.
Meticulous.
86.
Yep.
That is really cool. He knows that thing inside out, every inch of it.
Yes.
Wow.
And those guys run an amazing program as well.
Yeah.
Those Kern County they're dialed in.
Yeah, shout out to those guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were a huge help to us as well. Their commander, Joel Swanson, he bent over backwards for us, anything we needed.
That's great.
To help us acquire their aircraft.
They still do. We still call them.
Sure.
Questions, help. They have no issue giving us help.
Yeah.
Even though the check's been signed, everything's done, they'll reach out to us, ask how we're doing. And
that is what happens in this community. Isn't it amazing? Law enforcement aviation, we talk about this all the time, don't we? With so many guests, and there's nobody keeping their cards here, and they're going, oh, no, I can't share that. everybody shares everything.
Yeah.
Here's our manual, and here's this, and here's that, and here's our mechanic.
Absolutely.
It makes this community special. And not every specialized unit in police work, and I'm talking to some SWAT guys here, and
100%.
canine.
Oh yeah.
It isn't always like that in those communities. There's some egos that get in the way of all that. I haven't found that in law enforcement aviation. I've actually tried to think one day. I got to think of an incident where, that has happened, where we got into a wall.
Right.
I can't think of any.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't.
I have spoken to people all over essentially the world trying to create this program when it was first started, and I never got shunned by anybody.
Yeah.
No one whatsoever. Majority of everybody I contacted said, when can you meet? Let's not do this over the phone. Let me show you things. Let me show you our expenses. Let me show you, the maintenance. Everybody is welcomed us with open arms.
It is incredible. But I'm going to come to you, Eric, in a second with mission profiles. But what was your selling point? You mentioned that you went to the sheriff and said, hey, I've got another proposition here for a rotorcraft. And you had some ideas of what you needed to expand your missions. What was your big selling point there?
There are multiple. So with the fixed wing, 90% of the time, 99% of the time, we're out of sight, out of mind. We fly at, 6,500, 7,500 feet. Community doesn't hear us. They don't see us. Bad guys don't hear us. They don't see us. But with that being said, we have no command presence, whereas rotorcraft does.
Sure.
We don't have that deterrent that a rotorcraft does. So I coupled that. There are some instances where even though we're overhead in the fixed wing, we'd have to call another agency with a helicopter. One example was last year, we had 6 or 8 shootings, I can't remember, within 6 or 7 hours in our county. And it was all rival gangs. It was 2 gangs kept hitting each other. So Eric and I were overhead, and after a shooting, we'd see the rival gang start meeting in a backyard of a house, in the projects, wherever it was. And there's nothing we can do about it. And we can't send officers, hey, go disrupt this meeting. They're on private property, Fourth Amendment issues with that. So to prevent these shootings from keep happening, we called Fresno County and I said, hey, we've had all these shootings. There's going to be another one. We're watching the meeting. There's about 40, 50 people in the backyard of this house. Can you guys fly? It was at night. Can you guys fly over and just illuminate the house? Yeah. Fly some orbits.
Let them know that you're watching.
Mm-hmm. And again, going back to helping each other out, that I made that conversation with their sergeant via text while I was flying. He said they're en route. They flew over, orbited this neighborhood, turned on their spotlight. We're orbiting at 6,500 feet, watching everybody. They're looking up at the helicopter. We didn't have another shooting that night. Everybody dispersed. Yeah. We were monitoring some social media stuff. Everybody on social media was, hey, the ghetto birds in town, knock your shit off. Yeah. Don't go out and do stupid things. They're watching us. Wow. There's an airplane. They didn't know. Yeah. But they saw the helicopter come over. Just the command presence alone can be beneficial. For our county, like Eric said, our county is a little over 1,400 square miles. One of those beats is 750 square miles alone. So there's one deputy that's covering 750 square miles. He's out in the middle of nowhere. He's out in the middle of nowhere. If he does a traffic stop out in the middle of nowhere in his beat, we can be overhead, but the people that he's stopping don't know we're overhead. Right. Whereas a helicopter, we can be overhead, and it might change their mind of he's not by himself. Whereas a fixed wing, we can't do that. There's some other issues that we had as well. We have the Kings River that runs right through the center of our county. It's raging during the summer months. Yeah. I think last week we were talking to our dive guys. They had 12 rescues in one day through a river. Prior to us acquiring a helicopter, anytime the Kings River borders our county and Fresno County, Fresno County would come and do all the rescues for us. And that's just another service we can provide to our community of, hey, if Fresno County is not available and it's our county and we need to do a water rescue, we can. Yeah. We have the ability to do that, whereas a fixed wing, we do not. Right. Wow.
We also had the flood, too.
Yes.
The flood. So with all the extra rain we got last year, the Corcoran Lake used to be a Corcoran Lake, turned back into the Corcoran Lake. Tulare Lake. It's down in Corcoran. And the Tulare Lake filled up, and we had a bunch of people driving into the lake. and we had to do a lot of water rescues with our dive team. And so with that, Sergeant Hunter and I were flying, watching water levels for OES, for the sheriff's office, FEMA. We're calling us almost every day for months because it was a lot of levee breaks and it was flooding this field and it was going to go towards these homes. So we were flying and they would have their FEMA meetings, and I would literally live stream the lake while they're having their meeting, and they can watch. And we want you to go look at this area. We want you to go look at this area. Well, then when they started using Kern County to bring their helicopters over, so we could actually fly the Board of Supervisors and these FEMA people lower, and they can see it better than they could from the airplane, which sort of helped us get the helicopter because they showed the need for it along that line.
Absolutely. No doubt.
I can only think about how proud your chief must have been when he was able to show off your ability to monitor that stuff.
Right.
You know, you guys are downlinking that information to these folks from federal agencies. You know, that
Absolutely.
I think of the work you guys put into that. And if I was the man in charge, I'd be like, yeah, that's my guys.
And we didn't know it at the time, and we have since talked to our command staff and our sheriff since then. We're, like Eric said, we were flying this lake. So for the listeners that don't know, in the city of Corcoran, which is in our county, the Tulare Lake, I think, don't quote me on the date, up until like the 30s was the biggest lake west of the Mississippi. Farmers came in, they started diverting the water and essentially drained the lake for ag purposes. So they're using the lake water for their fields. They made canals. Well, because of the rainfall last year, we had so much rain that Tulare Lake came back. So it flooded, 15, 20,000 acres of farmland.
No, it was over 100,000 acres.
100,000, yeah.
Jeez.
Up to like 17 feet of water. So the Tulare Lake came back because it's in a flood zone, came back, and we're having to fly it, sometimes 5-6 times a day for OES, for FEMA, for we didn't know it at the time, but they're planning like, okay, how are we going to get rid of this water? How are we going to protect property? And what evacuations do we need to put in place to save people's lives? At the time, Eric and I just thought we were flying around a lake and we're live streaming stuff, but it ended up being of tremendous value to the federal assets, to our county, to save people's property and save people's life, which is what we get paid to do.
Yeah, that was big. That was the whole Central Valley for the most part.
Yes.
I went to a wedding in Modesto at that time, and I remember roads being closed. You go, why is this road closed? And you look and you go, oh my gosh, there's water everywhere.
Yes.
You know? Yes. Yeah. It was crazy how much water.
People in inner tubes, and we
boats,
had boats,
jet skis.
And it's like, how did that guy get his truck a mile off of the road in the water?
Yeah.
It's 12 foot deep.
Crazy.
And he's standing on the roof of his truck, waiting to get saved.
So when the Tulare Lake happened, when the flood, it essentially happened within a couple days.
Yeah.
Like thousands and thousands and thousands of acres of water because the rivers overflowed and they flooded into the Tulare Lake Basin, essentially. But our county roads crews would put road close signs. It's all farmland. There's roads that go, there's homes. Our county roads would put road close signs about a half a mile to a mile before the water actually started, because you can just driving down the road, next thing you know, you're underwater. But people would see the road closed sign, drive around it because there's no water, and then in a half a mile, their car's underwater and it's getting swept, downstream.
Crazy.
It's that typical, you're doing traffic control, and the person's like, but I live right there.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
You see these flares? What flares?
We had that happen so many times. Eric and I, again, we'd fly over it 5 or 6 times a day, downlinking. We'd see roofs of cars.
Yeah.
Completely submerged except for the roof. And we started talking, we don't know if those cars are occupied or not. How long has that car been there? We didn't see it yesterday. So we coordinated with our dive guys. Every time we would see a car, when we would fly over, our dive guys would go out in a boat, make sure nobody was inside the car, that they're able to get out, and then we'd spray paint an orange X on the roof. So I don't know how many, we'd see 5 or 6 cars a day, new cars.
And the water's, probably varying a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
How long did this go on?
Geez, over a year.
Yeah.
I think
just started drying up. I mean, there's still a small section of water out there, maybe 10 or 20 acres of water. But it took quite a while, 7 or 8 months for it to really start to drain.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is really amazing.
We're talking water so high that there's one home that was 2-story. You can barely see the crest of the roof.
Wow.
Of a 2-story house. That's how high the water was.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. We talked about, obviously, responded patrol requests. We talked about some surveillance that Jerry doesn't like. What other mission profiles we're talking about? Are there some other elements that we should know about?
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Hangar Z podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more stories that promote the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Lastly, stand by for a message after a word from our sponsors. Cheers.
Thanks to our sponsor, Airbus. Airbus provides the most efficient helicopter solutions to its customers who serve, protect, and save lives and safely carry passengers in demanding environments. Its civil and military helicopters are flying all over the world, making missions possible. Visit airbus.com for more information. Thank you to our sponsor, Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory globally, 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support. Thank you to our sponsor, SpectroLab. SpectroLab, a pioneer and world-leading supplier of high-intensity searchlights for all para-public operations. Visit www.spectrolab.com to learn more about our 3rd generation Night Sun series high-intensity searchlight. When reliability and performance is critical to your mission, count on SpectroLab Night Sun searchlights.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts. We hope you enjoyed this enlightening 2-part series featuring Senior Deputy Eric Johnson, the 2024 Airborne Public Safety Association's Tactical Flight Officer of the Year, and Sergeant Jerry Hunter from the Kings County Sheriff's Office. In our conversation, we explored their impressive backgrounds in law enforcement, the establishment of their air support unit, and the vital role aviation plays in enhancing canine operations and ensuring public safety in Kings County, California. Their insights into operational strategies, transparency, and the commitment to excellence shed light on the impactful work they do. Let's once again extend our heartfelt congratulations to Senior Deputy Eric Johnson for his well-deserved APSA TFO of the Year award. His dedication to public safety aviation and leadership within the program truly sets a remarkable example for all. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share your feedback. Cheers.
Time to close up the hangar. Thanks for joining us on the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts.